Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 finale of The Bear. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I've been talking about it for our past couple episodes now because I remember seeing, like I said, I think the word I saw someone use was heartbreaking when it came to this season finale, and they were not wrong. It is everything I was worried about and thought things might turn out a certain way, and without it, like I said, other than knowing like, oh, it's going to be a heartbreaking season finale, I didn't know what to fully expect. So I was just always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And because once again, this is like their opening day, but it's still like, hey, we got to work out the kinks. So it's like, because we're picking up right after last episode, and now it's like, all right, so we're doing our thing, and obviously they end up kind of falling a little bit behind, and it's just like, all right, so they're trying to be a well-oiled machine, but it seems like they're there, but you know, Richie's out there doing his thing, Neil's out there doing his thing. It's like, all right, things are doing well enough. But obviously, it's where we start seeing some hiccups here and there. The toilet ends up messing up. And the fact is that Natalie's the one who has to deal with that. And obviously, at one point in time, they ran out of forks. And obviously, Natalie's like, that's because you don't know how to calculate, Carm. It's like, well, that's so interesting because that was an element that was brought up earlier in the season where it's just like, Carm was like, oh, it's going to be this. And then it's like, no, you're forgetting this, this, and this. It's like, okay, the price is actually going to be this because of that. So it is kind of that continuation. It's just, I think it's like, Carm has been juggling so much, I think, this entire season. Of course, it was all bound to break. You know, it's just, like, there's just been little holes in the dam the entire episode, and now the whole flood got released. But, because it's these little, like I said, even the good moments make you go like, oh, this is nice, this is good, but it's not going to last forever. There's too much time left in this episode for everything to be okay, and that's the most crushing thing about it, and it's sad, and it's just, I mean, like I said, because there's so much being juggled at once. You have Natalie being worried about mom. It's like, okay, is mom going to show up? And obviously Pete's like, I want you to have like reasonable expectations. I don't want you to get your hopes up. But she said, like, no, it's going to be fine. Mom doesn't show up. It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. I promise. Because Pete's like, it's going to be like a 75-25, 75% chance she doesn't show up. So, and, it's like Natalie trying to be okay with that, but I think she's got so much she's working on right now that she is stressing about that, but she also kind of doesn't have time to stress about that because she has other things to stress out about. And then there's like, we start kind of getting into a little bit into the Marcus and instead of it all, because he's just kind of like, okay, they have to work together. You know, kind of putting out the orders and kind of saying what the kitchen needs to kind of push out there, like hands I need to kind of like, you know, put stuff out there. But it kind of culminates where like Marcus was just frustrated because he's saying like, right, I know things have kind of been weird, but she's like, I haven't been weird. Everything's fine. Like the fact is she doesn't have time to compartmentalize all of that right now because it's like, I got too much focus, like this is kind of riding on me. Even at one point, she said was like, okay, do you want to switch out? And Carmen's like, no, like you got this. It's like, T, I need you to do this. Like, well, no, I can't because Josh is going. It's like, wait, where's Josh? It's like, I don't know. He went somewhere. It's like, fine, I'll do this. Like, we find out where Josh is later on because Marcus goes looking for him. It's like, wait, he's out here. Wait, is that crack? He's like, yeah, it's what makes me good. He's like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to fire you. He's like, no, you're. He's like, how about I'm gonna go back inside to see if that's the case. He's like, yeah, you go back inside. You're being really weird about this, dude. It's like, yeah, like it's normal to walk out and find someone smoking crack in a back alley. It's like, well, under these circumstances of like you were just in the kitchen, and I mean, I guess everyone has their vices, their way of dealing with things. I guess it's like, I guess in his mind, it's like me smoking a little crack isn't anything wild. I mean, people, you guys come back here, smoke, drink, whatever, right? So Marcus goes back in and tells Sid. I think that ended up helping bridge some of the awkwardness. He's like, I know things have kind of been awkward between us. She's like, no. He's like, but this is going to make things better. I found Josh back there smoking crack, and she's like, what? That's wild. He's like, yeah, that's what I said. He said it makes him like better in the kitchen. She's like, there's no way that's true. He's like, I mean, you saw the way he was handling those carrots, and even she's like, huh, you're right, huh? It's like, I think I'm gonna have to fire him, right? She's like, yeah, you're gonna have to fire him. He's like, yeah, like I'm gonna handle that before he like comes back inside this kitchen. So it's like, Jesus, that's an awkward situation to be in. You had Carmen Cause Richie at one point is like, "Hey, Carmen, take a second, go out there and see Claire." But he's like, "No, I'll do it in like a minute. I'm in it right now." Because once again, that's the culmination of just like, "Hey, I've been stressing about, like, I like Claire. I think she's great, but I'm scared and I'm worried about me messing things up," and just kind of like, right, I can't get out. Like, it's a situation. I think it's a situation in this episode where everyone kind of couldn't get out of their own way in some ways, and I think it worked out worse for some characters than it did for others in many different ways. Especially for Carmen, like, he has that moment to be there with Claire, which I also appreciate. Kelly got brought along as well. Kelly being the friend from episode 5, like, she's going through the breakup, and they went to that party together. And at first, I was like, "Wait, are we going to catch like a Richie and her vibe?" I was like, "Something's going to happen on that front," because they were introduced. But then it's like later on she's talking to Neil and his brother, so I was like, something's gonna happen on that front, especially because, I mean, it'd be kind of cute if her and Neil got together, but then like I was also thinking like, well, what if it's actually Neil's brother, because it seemed like he was kind of trying to lay down some moves, like kind of slicking back his hair and stuff, so that's going to be interesting to see if anything happens there. I mean, especially because they have the Claire connection, so that could easily be a friend of a friend type of situation, like friend of a friend hookup type of thing, so especially now that we know, I mean, I would assume we don't know if she's still single, but like obviously she's relatively coming out of a pretty bad breakup. So, so it feels like that could be where they're taking that. But the problem is, after the whole situation with Claire, then Natalie telling Carmen about the toilet, like he's looking out and he's stressing out and he's hearing in his head like, "Oh, you're slow. Why are you so effing slow?" I mean, even to the point later on, he's thinking about Joe McHale's character. I was wondering, like, they showed that scene of that guy sitting in the back, and I was like, wait, they showed Joe McHale, like, sitting in the back when Carmen's, like, running through stuff in his head. I was like, wait, did you actually see him out there? And that's what's making you stressed out. It's just, once again, this is supposed to be a situation where they're not supposed to get overwhelmed. He got overwhelmed. And so he was kind of snapping at Sid, or Sid was snapping at Tina for things, kind of like, "Oh, you need to refire that." It's like, no, but Carmen said, like, "No, this isn't what Carmen said. I said we have to refire that. Like, you have to do that over again. That's not, you have to redo that." Then they have to refire everything else because, like, the food got too cold, it got dead, and he has to apologize to Sid after snapping at her. It's like, it's just, once again, it's too stressful. As someone with anger issues, I wouldn't be able to handle that. I'd snap, I don't have the necessary patience, and just, like I said, it's just that, I think that's what, like, gets to me so much. It's just because so much is bubbling beneath the surface, and it's just all ready to pop at any point in time. And so for Carmen to later on get locked in a walk-in freezer, and it's just frustrating because it's like, oh, because this kind of happened because he kind of dropped the ball in his opinion, even though it's like, okay, like, because like while they're trying to do everything, like Sid is stressing out because it's like, okay, Carmen's stuck in a walk-in freezer, oh god, we're falling behind. And then she put Richie on the receipts and everything and the orders and stuff like that, and he worked his magic, he did his thing, and Neil was out front, and Neil's like, but why am I out front? That's scary, I don't want to do this on my own. He's like, it's okay, you got this. He's like, I'm not really good where I am now, but we're both going to do what we got to do, because you're nice to people, and that's all you have to do is go out there and be nice to people. Just be you when it comes to, like, because that's why Rich is kind of able to kind of, he's toned down who he is to be the guy out there in front. So, but he's still who he is. He's just the people person that he is. And so everything's going, like, they're doing their thing. Carmen's smashing against the wall, like, and I love that. It's just like they're doing their thing. They're trying not to let it throw them off, but you can see some people getting distracted every once in a while because, like, Carmen's banging, being like, "Let me out of here, get me out of here." And it's like, right, they're in it now. They don't have time to even worry about you. And Carmen's just sitting there the entire time stressing because it's like, this is the opening of your restaurant, and you feel like such a failure, especially because, remember, like, especially because he's thinking about it later on of, like, him showing off his drawings to Mikey at in the Christmas episode, showing him, like, yeah, these are my designs. And it's just like, it almost feels like they are paralleling that moment where Mike just had a lot and he was just kind of stressful. Next thing we know, he was, he got high and came back in afterwards. So it feels like this parallel of, like, here you have Carmen, like, stressing out right now because he's feeling like a failure. Like, I'm supposed to be out there. I'm locked in my own freezer because I failed at every step of the way. And just, he's drowning in it. And at the same, there's also the Pete. He's trying to be supportive in every capacity, and he sees Donna outside. He's like, "Oh, come inside. It's cold." And she's like, "No, I don't want to. I don't. It's embarrassing. I got caught out here." It's like, "No, come in. Natalie wants to see you. Like, it would mean the world to her." It's like, "No, we got a seat for you and everything." And I felt so bad for Pete because Pete's like, "I don't know what to do in this situation. I love this family, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to do the wrong thing. I want to do the right thing. You being here means a lot to Natalie, but for Donna, it's like, I don't want to mess this up. I want my kids to have something good." She's like, "I love them so much, and I don't always know how to say that. I don't know how to say I'm sorry, I think just being the way she is." And once again, we don't really know what her circumstances are of just kind of like, it just, like I said, she seems very like, kind of very manic and bipolar in some capacity, but it's just, and once again, I'm not no psychologist, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, I know her diagnosis." That's what I'm interpreting that as, but I don't know. But for her just be like, "Just tell me it's okay," which I think is so interesting, because it's like, it's him, she needs someone to tell her it's okay to walk away right now. Tell me that it's okay. And Pete just doesn't know what to do. He's just kind of like, no, like, what do you mean you can't do it? Like, you can do it, like. And I think it's this interesting thing where it's like, she doesn't want Natalie to ask her if she's okay, but in this moment she needs Pete to say it's okay to walk away, that you're not here. She's like, "Don't worry, I'll call them afterwards, I'll check up on them, but I want my kids to have something good," because it's like, it's that thing of like, I know I'm gonna ruin this for them and I don't want to, but it's like, it would mean the world for Natalie if you were here. And it's just like, and he's like, it's okay. And then later on when he's talking to Natalie, he's bursting into tears, like he's not bursting into tears, but he's crying because he felt like he messed up. It's like, it's okay. Like, don't blame your mom for this one. Like, there's a lot of family, there's a lot of history here, and Natalie's kind of handling it with stride because she doesn't know, because I think eventually she will, but it's just Pete feels like I think for him, he feels like he failed her. It's like, this was so important to you, and I did the opposite. You wanted your mom here, and like, who knows how that would have played out if she was here, if she had, like, maybe that was the right move, but he also doesn't know what the aftermath of that could be. Like, your mom actually did show up, and I'm the reason why you didn't get to see that she was here. To be fair, Natalie was back there helping in the kitchen, and it's just like, who knows what would have happened if she was able to still be out front with them, if just everything wasn't so chaotic, because like Natalie had to kind of help out because corn was in the freezer. So it's just, I don't know what the right thing to have done in that situation, because once again, it's that thing of like, I think Pete doesn't know like what the aftermath of that will be. It's like, he didn't say anything to Natalie, and I think that guilt is eating him up, because at the end of the day, Pete's a good guy. He always tries to do the right thing, but he's probably scared, like, what if Natalie finds out I did what I did? And Donna will probably never say it, but also like Natalie might, like, cause that's why he's trying to stress, like, don't hold this against her that she didn't show up. It's like that 25% chance she did show up, and Pete kind of told her it was okay to leave. And it's just like that stress. And, he also dropped the bomb about like, right, she's pregnant. We got to get all these dinners done before the baby comes. And she's like, Donna's like, you and Natalie. He's like, I thought she told you. It's like, she probably wanted to invite her here opening night to tell her, but that cuts a little deep too, of just like, okay, like, I'm such a mess that my daughter didn't even want to tell me she was pregnant. It's like, she wanted to make this a special night to probably tell you that her and Pete were, it's just, she wanted to, it to be probably like a good environment. She wanted the energy to be right. It's like everything, that she's in a good place, that everything's in a good place, that Donna's in a good place, and just everything went wrong. And I think all of that's kind of rummaging through Pete's mind, and he's feeling like I said, he feels like he's failing Natalie, and just like, he wants her to be okay. He wants us all to be okay. And even he admits, he's like, it's a lot. At least he's saying it's for a lot for Donna, so don't blame it against her. But I think even for him, it's like, it's a lot. This family's a lot, and I've kind of found my stride with it. But even in this moment, I'm scared, and I'm afraid I might have messed this up. I might have made the wrong move, and just like, and once again, because Natalie could easily take this moment here. Everything seems okay now, but that could turn into something so messed up and damaging later on for her and Donna's relationship. You just don't know how the dominoes might fall in this particular case. But despite every second counts, obviously, and everyone did their thing, and they ended up catching up, and they were in a good spot. It's like, all right, we have 5 minutes. If we fall behind, we're screwed. But they nailed it. They did their thing. Everyone's celebratory. Everything's great. And then there was a moment where like Neil and his brother are talking to Claire and Kelly, and I was like, don't mention Carmen in a freeze. Do not mention Carmen in. It's like, yeah, he was making a Han Solo reference of him being stuck in carbonite, but I was like, don't. And she's like, what's going on? It's like, he's in. I was like, don't go back to Claire. Don't. I was like, because the moment you do, he's talking to T right now, and especially when it's like, hey T, can you help me? She's like, I'll be back in a second. I was like, she's gonna walk away. Claire's gonna be like, don't. Carmen's gonna say something he doesn't want to say, and that's exactly what happens. Because his whole point was, I messed up. I was supposed to be on top of things. The person the fridge guy, Tony, I'm supposed to look out for him, but she was like, Tony, who's Tony? It's like, the fridge guy. It's like, no, his name is, was it like Terry or something like that? And it's like, so even, because he thought it was one thing, Natalie thought it was another, and you had, either that was just supposed to be a thing of, no, he heard the name wrong, but I think that's also supposed to be indicative of, no, even Sid got the name wrong. Because he was like, I had poor reception, and I messed up. He's like, I'm looking like the tape is like, we're tearing it like assholes, and he's just looking at like, oh, the ingredients and stuff, like all he can focus on is like, it's in the wrong place. Like, he's stuck in literal hell of just kind of like, he's stuck and he can't move. He has to, as long as you're moving, you don't have to think about it, but he's drowning in it because he's stuck. He has nowhere to go. Everything's happening outside without there's some, at least if he was out there, he could be in somewhat control and like, all right, I have my place in this, I'm a cog in this machine. And now it's like, dude, I'm on the outside of it. And I can't see, I can hear, but it doesn't matter because I'm failing in so many regards of like, you know, it's like, he's beating himself up, and it's just like, I think that's why it hits a little too close to home, because I'm that there, it felt too real, because I'm like, that's a giant metaphor for being inside of my head sometimes. I think anyone's head, but like, it's just like, when you tear yourself down, when you're just like, man, fuck you, you're so fucking stupid, you're like Carmen's taking a lot of that pressure and putting it on himself. I've never been in that situation, but I have such low self-esteem. That's me sometimes. I'm just like, fuck you fucking idiot. You suck. You're stupid. Like, that's why it hit too close to home. And then just like I said, it's a literal metaphor of being stuck in his own head, and because he's literally stuck in a freezer surrounded by everything being wrong. It's an encapsulation of just, hey, like, I've been dropping the ball, and I'm having constant reminders left and right. Oh, I'm physically seeing stuff that's reminding me of that. I have stuff drowning in my head telling me I'm a failure, and I fucked up, and I'm terrible, and I'm not good enough, that I should be dead. Like, obviously that's Joel McHale's character telling him that, but it's still just like I said, it's just a personification of all of that. And it's just like, I can't do anything about it, but just sit here because I have to wait. You know, even though, and that's the sad thing of like, everything's going fine outside, but the problem is Carmen can't take a second to breathe, to enjoy it. And in that line from Claire, sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to take a second to really enjoy and be like, no, you did something good. Like, yes, you're worried because you feel like you failed in so many regards, but everything is okay. But he's getting overwhelmed. You know, he's the one that shouldn't be overwhelmed, but he is. And he ended up saying something he shouldn't have said. He was basically making it seem like, right, that maybe I shouldn't be in a relationship because I dropped the ball. Like, I live for this. I love it. But at the same time, it's like, I have to give it my all. Once again, what Jimmy literally said last episode. And, it is that situation of, he's just like, right, all the good, you know, he's like, I don't need amusement or enjoyment, and I don't need to give out amusement or enjoyment. I don't need amusement or enjoyment. None of that good is worth it if it makes me feel this way. And she's like, I'm sorry to hear that, Carmen. He's like, no, Claire. And she leaves. And Richie's just like, what are you doing? Like, why can't you just let something good be good? Like, why you have to be so self-destructive, which is ironic considering how much Richie was like that too. And then Richie messed up by being like, yeah, Donna. And even he was like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. He's like, what the fuck did you just say, Richie? He's like, you need me. You're obsessed with my family. I should have cut you out. And he's like, I love you. I hope you fucking freeze to death in there. And just like, I was like, oh God, Carl. Like, it's the moment of just like, you're heated, you're heartbroken, you're sad, you're angry. And it's all coming out at once. And he's just kind of lashing out. It's just a thing of like, I don't know how much she heard. And I don't I want her to know and understand like what's kind of going through my head. Like it's been like, because it's like you didn't get to hear what Carmen said about you previously to Sid the last episode about how great you are and that he really likes you a lot, that you're good for him too. But it's just like all she heard was that, and it's just, and especially when he listens to that voicemail later on, the voicemail he couldn't listen to last episode because he was so torn between his relationship and doing what he's supposed to do. And it's just like, it's the culmination of just everything stacking, and it is sad. It is a sad season finale because we have to wait a while. We're going to be waiting a while to find out what happens next, you know? And it's just like, can things work out? You hope things work out, but maybe it's beyond repair. And it's just like, that family has a lot of self-destructive tendencies. And just in this moment, Carmen's just kind of a representation of that. It's a little bit of Mikey. It's a little bit of Carmen. It's a little bit of Donna. And it's just like, I mean, maybe you could say like it stems from Donna and it got passed on to her kids. And it's just, I'm curious too, like in that moment where Richie's outside smoking, I'm like, is he going to back? Like the thing I was worried about, I was like, is Richie going to backpedal? And this could be the thing that sets him back. But it's like, he has those self-destructive tendencies as well. So it is hypocritical for him to call, but like Carmen shouldn't have said all he said. Like it is the underlining thing of like, right, he is obsessed with their family. He is like, because he kind of doesn't have a good family thing of his own, he latched onto this family so much, and they mean so much to him. So for Carmen to kind of say all that shit, it cuts deep, because it's something that other people think, it's something that Richie thinks. I mean, especially after he had that moment with Jimmy too, where he had Gary take out that chocolate banana to him, and it meant the world to him. He's like, you let him know I said thank you. And it's like, yeah, he nailed it, you know? I even love he had that moment with Sid's dad, and obviously checking in to be like, yo, your dad, he's good. It's like, oh, we'll bring out your drinks. He's like, yeah, I'm not much of a drinker. I'd rather have a soda. It's like, no, that's exactly what we're bringing you. So it's like, they're good, but it's just, and for Carmen to hear that message from Claire after the fact, and it's like, if I'd heard that sooner, it would have made the world a difference. But once again, it's just everything happening. Once again, it's learning how to deal with that stress properly, which once again, I am not equipped for it. And I think Carmen doesn't have all the tools necessary to handle it. Like it's just sad. That's all I can say to describe it. It is sad. And like I said, that word heartbreaking is so true, because Marcus is feeling good. I was like, everything's great. You know, he got a gift from, I think, Copenhagen that he finally opened. And then we see his phone, Christy, his mom's nurse had called, was like, yo, where are you? And it's just like, fuck, he was in it and he didn't have time to like pay attention to his phone. You have Sid back there throwing up, and her dad being like, well, no, this is the thing, honey. Like, you were right. I understand it. After seeing it, after tasting that food, it's like, it was incredible. You did it, honey. This is the thing. Like, I see it now, essentially. Where I was worried before, I see it. Like, I see you in your environment. I see you out here killing it. And Sid's kind of happy about it. She's smiling because it's just like, because she was stressed out, she was worried, she was messing up, and now it's like, oh, everything's good. And it's like, what that means for her and Carmen, because will Carmen kind of take it out on her about like the whole Tony thing? But it's like, I think for him, it's like, no, regardless if his name was Terry or whatever, being the fridge guy, it's like, that's still on me. That's why I kept stressing it last episode. I was like, we never actually saw him call the fridge guy, did we? He didn't call the fridge guy like I thought he did. And I was like, maybe he did that between episodes, but they made such a point of it. I was like, he didn't do it in the episode, because he got distracted by the Claire of it all, and then Marcus told him, it's like, he never did, but he also was like, I didn't have reception, because he was also calling the wrong guy, so it's like, because at the end of the day, regardless of it, I don't think he will take it out on Sid, even though like he kind of got angry at Sid, but he's not going, it's like, this is on me. This is my fault. That now it's like, it's my fault. I'm failing the restaurant I wanted to make. I failed Claire. And because she even said the L word. She said, I love you. And it's just like, that was a final nail in the coffin of like, I'm a fucking asshole. I ruined it. I had something good, but once again, I couldn't get out of my own way. Like, I am not okay, you know? And what that really stems from is just like, and even though hearing it, it's like, oh, you're like Don Lana, it's like, even he probably can't deny it in this moment of just like, I had something good and I just couldn't be happy with it. You know, I couldn't take, because I was in the middle of it, I couldn't take a second to enjoy it, because he was taking seconds before, but in the middle, in this moment, you said some shit that maybe you were feeling in the moment, but you had no right to say. But it is the thing of, he thought he was just putting it out there. He thought he was talking to T that could kind of talk him off a cliff. He didn't expect Claire to actually hear it. And now it's like, right, he blew up at Richie, and hopefully they're going to be okay, but who knows what the aftermath of that's going to be. It's like, because for Carmen now, all he has is this, but it's like, does he even have this? Because it's like, I failed, and it's just like, am I, because Sid's worried of like whether or not she was cut out for this, and even he's like, maybe I'm not cut out with this, cut out. I think he was specifically talking about the relationship, maybe I'm not meant to be, because he's like, I'm a fucking psycho, like, being with me, you know? It's that thing of just like, right, it's bound to fall apart because I'm me, you know? I've been in relationships. I've had a girlfriend. I'll get like, fuck me being the fucking sappy douche that I was. I remember one of my first girlfriends. I wrote poems, and like, I kind of put them out there for people to see. And one of my girlfriends saw it. It was like a poem called Rain. It's about like losing someone, like about, you know, a breakup. And she was like, are you writing this about us? Are you just like kind of assuming we're going to break up? It's like, because I'm that pessimist that like everything's going to fall apart. Everything's going to go wrong. Like, Carmen tries to keep, I think, a positive energy about it, but I think it is still the thing of, he just assumes shit's going to go wrong, and that, you know, once again, it's just, I'm worried about the other shoe going to drop. And was it this or something else I was watching that was like, no one else is counting the shoes? Oh, right, no, it was this. It was Claire's exact word. Those was Claire's words of, no one's counting the fucking shoes. And it is that self-destructive nature thing of like, right, it's all going to fall apart anyway, so why not kind of brace myself? Once again, I felt, I mean, yes, me and said girlfriend broke up, but it doesn't correlate. But it is that internalization thing of like, oh, I'm gonna mess this up. It's all gonna fall apart anyway. So what's the point? It's almost that, and maybe that's me projecting so much of my own bullshit onto Carmen as a character. But it's just, I don't know. It's good television, but it's just like, it's because the drama and just the heartbreak, the crush, how much it crushes you when it has that much of effect on you. I think that really showcases just like how good television it is. But it's still just a thing of like, you want everything to be okay. The first season ended on a happier note with its little complications here and there. Now it's like, this kind of ends on a happy note in some capacities, but there's a lot of threads and complications all around, and it's just like, where do we go from here? So it is September 5th. Obviously, I've kind of slow rolled, and it's taken me a long time to finish the season. But even at this time, it hasn't been officially announced whether or not the show is getting a third season. I mean, obviously, there's a lot there, because it's just like at least from what I'm reading, some of the articles that I was kind of got recommended were kind of saying like it hasn't been official yet, that a third season, but it seems like very likely. The show got a great reception, a lot of nominations and stuff, but I also feel like that kind of doesn't mean anything. But we're also in the middle of a SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike, so, you know, even like probably it getting greenlit might be a little while too, and even then starting production on that would be a while as well, depending on when the strikes end up ending. But either case, I'm so curious to see, you know, I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to get a season 3. Now, where season 3 starts is going to be interesting, and see how that all plays out. I guess it's going to be, I could definitely see like not a big, but like a decent enough time skip, or maybe we're going to pick up immediately afterwards. Because I pointed like the restaurant isn't, once again, not officially open. This was once again like friends and family. Like I read something that has, and I have to reiterate that it's not like a restaurant's officially open. This was supposed to be like curtains haven't officially opened on this particular production in a stage percent. It is still kind of like, it is the rough rehearsal. Obviously, is what it's meant to be. So. I was also curious whether or not the rest of the family was going to show up. Like, I mean, obviously there's like family and friends, obviously, like Jibby showed up, but like we didn't get, kind I'm blanking on Bob Odenkirk's character's name. We didn't get him showing up or anyone else from that. Well, I'm trying to think in retrospect. It's like, yeah, like the only other people were like Steven and obviously Tip didn't come or Richie's daughter. So at least we didn't see them. I don't think so. So I mean, in the confines of the episode, we didn't, but that doesn't mean they weren't like necessarily like there at some point in time. But it's like, would you? I mean, were things stand with Richie and her getting engaged, and like, would he really have? It would have been weird and awkward, I'm sure, but still. So, like I said, it's such a sad note to end the season off on. I mean, like, the last shot of the season is literally Carmen getting, like, them trying to cut open the fridge, and he's just sitting there just looking at it, just like, as everything kind of literally and metaphorically falls apart. But that's the thing, and I think maybe that's what the next season could be about, of him trying to piece it together and find his new ebb and flow and trying to find some middle ground. Like, I mean, would he literally go to therapy for this, or what? And like I said, where did things stand between him and everybody else? Like I said, I don't think him and Sid will have beef. Maybe things will happen between him and Richie. I mean, can he make things right between him and Claire? Or is that, like I said, is that bridge sunk? I don't know. I hope it's not, because I really liked them together, but the entire time they were together, once again, almost inferring from a lot from my own relationships, where I just kind of so pessimistic, like, oh, it's all going to fall apart. I was so worried because I was like, it's going to fall apart between them, and I don't want it to, because every sweet moment they have together, and him stressing about, like, oh, should I be in this relationship? Is it going to compromise? It's like, I mean, I guess in his mind, it's like, right, just like from Jimmy's story, he's like, I'm that dude. Once again, that's a guy's name, like Gonzalez order. He's like, I'm that guy in this particular thing. I was told not to be the guy, and I was, so. We'll ultimately have to wait to see if the show comes back for a third season, where all of this ultimately will end up taking us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.